A walking tour in ancient Mediolanum. The panel shows the map of a current area in Milan on which there is marked an itinerary that will lead us to the discovery of the most significant monuments and archaeological remains of the Roman city. Under the map drawing, you can explore the reconstructions of the plans of some buildings. Starting from the left, the circus, the amphitheater, a wing of the Imperial Palace, and the theater. Let's start our tour by locating on the left bottom part of the map the part of the Archaeological Museum where we are currently located, number 1, where you can admire the remains of the Maximian's walls and the 2 towers preserved off the ground. Turning right from Corso Magenta, we go through Via Luini. Let's continue on the right, staying on this street, which will take the name of Via Cappuccio, and then Via Circo, where we can find, in the courtyards between the buildings at 9 and 11 Via Circo, some remains of the circus masonry, number 2. Refer to the reconstructed map below. The imposing building, 470 meters by 86 meters, dating back to the end of the 3rd century AD, was mainly destined for squirrel racing. Let's go on to the right and take Via del Torchio slightly rising, then continue down in Via Cesare Correnti. Then let's turn left to go through Via de Amicis. On the right, in Via de Amicis, we find the area that houses the Archaeological Park and the Antiquarium Alda Levi Museum, number 3, which respectively hold the few remains of the amphitheater foundations and the excavation finds discovered in the area. The amphitheater, referred to reconstructed map below, was built as usual outside the walls near the Ticinese gate in the first decades of the 1st century AD. Being 155 meters long and 125 meters wide, it was one of the largest buildings of this kind in northern Italy. It was made up of an elliptical central arena surrounded by the stairs for the audience, which could reach 20,000 people. Here, spectators watched gladiator duels, fights between men and wild animals, public executions of people sentenced to be slaughtered by beasts, and maybe even naval battles. Abandoned in the early centuries of Christianity, it became a quarry of building materials between the 4th and 5th centuries AD. Going back to the Via de Amicis itinerary, let's go on a short way up and turn left onto Porta Ticinese, until we find the 16 Roman columns, number 4, giving access to the original quadriportal in front of the San Lorenzo Basilica. The colonnade is the most famous Roman monument in Milan. Formed by columns, bases, capitals, and fragments of arches, recovered from an unknown public building in the second half of the 2nd century AD, it was built in the late ancient times, likely in the 5th century AD. Let's continue to the left along Corso di Porta Ticinese until we feel a slight upward bend. We have just arrived in Largo Carrobbio. Here we can admire the tower that lined the Ticinese's gate, number 5, which stood in the late Republican city walls, 2nd half of the 1st century BC. On the fork of the roads leading respectively to Abbiate, now Abbiate Grasso, currently Via Cesare Correnti, and Ticinum, now Pavia, today's Corso di Porta Ticinese. The door consisted of a double fornix with 2 massive towers of 8 sides each. Today, the door remains part of one of the towers, currently 9 meters high. It is the only visible remains of the entire late Republican city walls perimeter. Let's continue our itinerary to the left along the same road axis, which now takes the name of Via San Sisto. We pass Piazza Mentana and arrive in the area where walls and floors of Roman houses were found. These houses were part of a high-level residential neighborhood, which was replaced by the imperial complex. On the streets we're walking on, now named Via Morigi, at number 2A, we can find a fragment of a sophisticated floor, dating back to either the 1st century BC or the beginning of the 1st century AD, decorated on the surface by colored stones inserts delimited along the edges by a white and black framework. Continuing onwards and turning down to the left, we take the Via Vigna. Here, at number 1, in the courtyard of a modern building, we find a segment about 30 meters long of the perimeter structures of the circus, number 7. Returning to the road we were taking, which now takes the name of Via Brisa, we can admire the remains of an area of the Imperial Palace, number 8, from the 3rd-4th century AD, referred to a reconstructed map below. It was a representation building belonging to the imperial complex, consisting of an articulated and huge structure containing a residential area, some representation environments, and the circus. The foundations of this wing of the building, centrally planned, have been preserved. Some remnants of mosaic flooring and wall decorations were also found belonging to older residential buildings. Let's continue our tour and turn right upwards along the itinerary of Corso Magenta, taking Via Meravigli. Then let's turn right in Via delle Orsole. Going a bit upwards, let's then turn right again in Via San Vittore al Teatro, until we arrive at the Perceptible Museum of the Roman Theatre of Milan, number 9, which allows us to visit, upon reservation, the theatre's foundations, located in the basement of Turati Palace at the Chamber of Commerce. The theatre, referred to reconstructed map below, was built during the Augustan period between the end of the 1st century BC and the beginning of the 1st century AD. It is the oldest known public building in the Augustan city, and it stands as a proof of the important historical period during which Milan was provided with public buildings. Built on a semicircular plan, it could contain an audience of about 80 people, who took their seats on the steps supported by arcades and galleries. Used for theatrical performances, games, parties, and meetings, it retained its original function until either the 4th or 5th century. It continued to host public gatherings until the 12th century. Like much of the city, it was destroyed in 1162 by Frederick Barbarossa. The building was then dismantled. Its remains were quickly covered by other buildings, and it was rediscovered only around the end of the 19th century, during the construction of Turati Palace. In 1921, the Stock Exchange building was built above it, and in 2007 the museum was opened.